Hello, it's been so long, but welcome to this video. I'm back, I'm popping back up. So for today's reading, it's just gonna be like a collective reading. And I will be using the Every Little Thing You Do is Magic tarot deck. And we're going to be looking into the message that the person on your mind's higher self has for you. So something that they've wanted to tell you, or something that their higher self might be trying to communicate, maybe through more of the psychic realm, but that they can't directly or don't want to directly say to you. So this might be a little bit of a lengthy reading just because I haven't done a reading in so long. I got a ton of oracle cards. I got some extra little things going on, as well as the tarot, just to get as much information as possible. So definitely strap in. But yeah, other than that, we're gonna jump into the reading. Okay, so firstly, we have your oracle cards. And we're gonna take a look and see what this person's higher self wants you to know, what message they have for you. We also do have some channeled messages over here on like the slips of paper and the note cards, and some bits of confirmation so that you can really tell if this reading is meant for you. Of course, if it resonates, then it resonates. But yes, so jumping into the oracle cards, the first card we have is adjustments are required with third quarter moon. And I do want to mention this. Oh my god, my cat's immediately being annoying, and let me straighten this a little bit. But, I don't know. I actually can't figure out how to, my setup's still not great. But one thing I did want to mention before I really get into things, before I forget totally, is that I heard while I was shuffling, like, I'm not being distant on purpose. Like, I'm not, I'm feeling like just right off the bat, this is probably a low contact or no contact group of people. Or you can maybe tell that this person is holding back some things. Like, if you guys do talk consistently, it's probably not about anything of substance. And of course, I always like to point out that that's not a very astute observation when people are coming to tarot videos, right? Because if you have like a lot of good communication in your relationship with someone and a lot of openness and honesty, you're not going to go seek out tarot videos for clarity. But I always like to, this person, one of the messages that came through is that, like, I'm not being distant. I'm not, not speaking my mind on purpose. It feels like to them there's some other roadblock in the way that feels very tangible and real. And whether or not that's true in your mind or in the objective reality is, up in the air. But for them, there's something holding them back that seems outside of their control. Or it feels like they're just doing what has to be done. Melanie is trying to figure out how to get onto the window, and I don't want her on the window because it's right above my little table. Anyways, we have work through your fears with new moon in Scorpio. A fiery climax approaches with full moon in Aries. Never know what orders to go in. We have reflection. Reflection brings deep insight. Have you been avoiding self-reflection? Take time to sit with your thoughts and feelings. Your inner world holds the answers you seek. We have commitment. Commitment is the key to long-term success. Are you hesitating making a decision? Commit fully to a path and you'll see the results of your dedication. And we have openness and moment. This is a time of openness and new possibilities. Are you ready to embrace them? Stay open to new experiences and you might find unexpected opportunities. I think that also, like, it feels like this person might have control issues with this, like, openness card here. Like, they might be the kind of person and everyone does it in some capacity, but to try and control an outcome. If they are silent, if they are like not really talking to you, it might be because they're trying to control the end game. And you might really not understand why, but like for them, that might seem like a necessary thing to get from point A to point B. That could be in regards to your relationship, or it could be in regards to something else. Like there could be something else just taking up their time. They don't have the capacity to give to you right now, because they're trying to, you know, put that energy into something else so that they can get the outcome that they want from that situation. But this is kind of someone like with the adjustments are required and work through your fears. I'm getting just the feeling that if they don't have control of a situation, they don't really want to engage with it at all. Like if they don't have the security that they know how things are going to end or where things are going, or that they're they have the power in the dynamic or in the situation, then it feels like they would just rather not engage at all, not dip their toes in, not see where anything goes. And of course, like we develop behavior like that because typically like that's developed from things blowing up in our face or some sort of like insecurity or childhood wounding. But I think this person is aware of it, but at the same time, they're like, this is a necessary evil. Going back to I'm not being distant on purpose. It feels like this is necessary. This is just what has to happen. This is a necessary evil, whether that's in regards directly to your relationship or your dynamic, or like you and this person are like, and where you're at is just a byproduct of some other thing in their life, if that makes sense. Oh my gosh. We have unconditional love. I deserve an unforgettable love. We have unexpected communication. Bonding, genuine connections, friends, family, children, reconnecting with childlike joy. Of course, I'm going to run out of room. I'm also kind of getting the feeling that this person might be healing something at this point in time. They very well could be, like I said, aware of that issue, and maybe they have actually taken the steps to, or are taking the steps, or actively moving towards some sort of healing in regards to that. And usually when we have like traits like that, where we have that need for control, or we run away from things, we don't deal with things when we don't know exactly how they're going to end, it's indicative of a larger problem and a larger wound, like I was saying. So it feels like maybe this person knew that if they were to like begin to unpackage that wound or begin to work through that specific issue, it would mean essentially working on a larger part of themselves, or trying to heal a larger wound that they have not wanted to deal with, you know, because it's like once you open the floodgates is kind of the energy. And it's kind of feeling like if there is space and there is distance, it is not like something that they control, because it's feeling like they're working on healing a part of themselves and they need that space to do that. You can do that with people in your life. Like that's definitely a possibility. And a lot of the times, like we isolate when we need people, but sometimes there are moments where you have to be alone to sit and reflect and to carve out a space for yourself. And yeah, that's helpful. That solitude can be really helpful, especially when you're trying to unpack a lot of stuff. But I feel like this person is definitely like feeling like healing something, some sort of trait, some sort of behavior that was not just that one behavior, but had like a long history of wounding attached to it. And they're learning, like with this unconditional love card, so sorry about that. It feels like they're learning to give unconditional love to themselves. Like it feels like this unforgettable love is something that they realize maybe they have been always like chasing it, looking for it in the wrong places, or feeling like they'll never get it. And it's feeling like they're at a point in their life where they're finally confronting the fact that that unconditional love is something that they're going to have to give to themselves. And I don't want to say like it's a situation where you have to love yourself before you love anyone else, because I don't believe in that. I think that's fucking stupid. But, you know, for some people that very well could be the case. Everything is on a case-by-case basis. We're all different. Irregardless, I feel like this person is in a space finally where they're confronting things inside of themselves head on. And this unconditional love, trying to give themselves that, it feels like there's some discomfort around it. There may be some wounds like surrounding masculinity, or just surrounding like being independent, or, you know, being self-sufficient, holding yourself up, if that makes sense. Like not appearing soft. They might be the kind of person that does not like to show their soft side, because they might fear that it is indicative of weakness. So they're learning to get in touch with that and that more feminine energy, and as well be okay with that and comfortable with the fact that they can express their softness. And if they did feel like blocked off before, it might be that they're just very uncomfortable with communicating that softer side of themselves. It just feels like there's some shame coming through around it. But right now, I think that they're definitely learning how to get back in touch with that, or how to get in touch with it in the first place, maybe. Anyways, we have the square aspect. We also have the trine. This person might be feeling like they're pulled in many different directions in their life. Like back and forth, if that makes, because these are such opposing, like that's a really hard aspect, and that's a super harmonious aspect. You guys also could have like a strange, I don't want to say like strange synastry, but you guys could have like a lot of like squares and trines in your synastry charts. But it does feel like there's a push and a pull. I think this person like wants to come out of their shell, and like they want to be open, but they just know that they're not ready, and they know that if they push themselves too hard, they're gonna go back in, and it's gonna collapse in on itself. So they're like really trying to be careful. It's like almost like they're tending to like a little like flower garden or something like that, and you have to be very, very careful with it, and like, you know, shield it from the elements, because it's so delicate. Like this femininity, this getting in touch with a side of themselves that they are vastly disconnected from. It's so fragile, and it's in its infancy right now, that if they were to really take it and do anything with it, it would probably not go well. We also have divination. They might be watching tarot videos about you, or like what you're thinking. They might be doing tarot, practicing tarot, or they might just be trying to connect with a more spiritual side of themselves. The, you know, feminine energy that is kind of coming through here is definitely connected to divinity and more of the spiritual plane, whereas I would say like the masculine energy is more of like concerned with what you can do in this earthly plane. They might be turning to that to find answers, especially if this is like a past wound that goes really deep, something that they've never healed. There's kind of a feeling of like, why, like I have to figure out why this happened, and how did I get here now, you know, like how did I get to this place that I'm at? How did I let this one thing set the trajectory for where I am now? almost like you just wake up, you look around and you're activated and you're like, how the fuck did I get here? It's like they've almost been in this like fight or flight mode for so long, and they're just now coming to terms with the fact that like they've actually been alive, and that they have control in some sense. I got these little mini tarot cards as well. So we have the Queen of Cups. Again, with that feminine energy, this person is definitely trying to get in touch with their feminine energy, and it feels like it's working. Again, it just feels like it's in sort of a fragile state. This Aries energy here like is interesting to me because it feels like that might be like their outward shell. Like they definitely could be a fire sign rising, or like a fire sun or something like that, where like that's sort of what they project, and they like to project like leadership. They like to project being a go-getter and not caring what people think, or having a tough outer shell, but on the inside it's just the complete opposite. They're very, very sensitive, and again, going back to the shame around that, so it feels like they felt like they had to block off this sensitivity and this femininity to avoid being shamed for it, whether it be by themselves or by someone else. But that thing I said about it being necessary and necessary evil, it feels like that person just like tells themselves this all the time, is that this is just the way that it has to be. And I think that maybe they've always been aware that like there's some wiggle room there, and that's not entirely true. But again, like when you pull on that thread, like you have to untangle the whole of it. We have the Tower, and we have the Nine of Wands. I feel like this person, they're usually like thinking that this is something I have to deal with by myself. Like they are hyper independent. They really like to, you know, take care of themselves. They might have a fear of relationships for that reason, which all stems from like a fear of vulnerability, I feel. But I really do think that this space that they're in right now is something that they have to do alone. And I think it might be really tough. Like you could also be in a relationship with this person. It might be, and maybe you guys are taking a break, or they just feel like they've pulled away a little and they're just a little bit more like shut off from you than before, which might be like, whoa, how could you get any more shut off? But it truly feels like this is something that they have to figure out on their own. And you might be the kind of person that really wants to step in and help. But it's like their higher self is saying like, this is temporary. First of all, this feels like a very temporary energy. This feels like something that they're working through so that they can come back to you stronger and come back to you being more receptive, being more open, and being more romantic, and allowing, you know, you guys as cups to like flow freely between each other. And they see the way that they've been, like they see the patterns, they see what they've been doing, and they see now that it was ultimately not the best way to do things. Of course, like it started for a reason, but I think that they're finally realizing it's like not a sustainable way to be. Like closing off a part of yourself, feeling ashamed, and not feeling comfortable with your emotions and with your own tenderness. Like I keep coming back to like softness, tenderness. Like it feels like there's something, like they maybe in relationships, or like maybe growing up, they didn't get that gentleness that we think to be inherent when we think of love. And so maybe their definition of love is a little more, you know, rough around the edges, and it's a little harsh. And their idea of love didn't really allow room for that softness, even if they knew logically. And so maybe just them like self-love was just like, you know, working through it and, you know, gritting your teeth, but you'll get through it and it's fine, and you have to do what you have to do. but not really allowing the space to rest or like be gentle. They could overwork themselves. They could have like a job that is like maybe really physically demanding, or maybe they like wear themselves out at the gym or something like that. It just feels like they don't allow themselves to rest. They don't allow themselves to feel loved. Like when someone does try and love them or tries to be tender with them, they block it off because like there's something about like feeling undeserving of this. And they can finally identify that that is not representative of reality, but representative of a wound that has shaped their perception of reality. My dog, I'm so sorry. We have be discerning, trust your intuition. We have romance, childhood, and playfulness. And then I do have a few songs. I'm not gonna read the lyrics, but you can read them. And I encourage you to look these songs up wherever you listen to music, because I don't know, because I put them here for a reason. So we have Wanderlust by Coletta. We have The Floorboards Are Breathing by Gatherers. And we have Away by Household. Yeah, I feel like this person's definitely going through something, but they're definitely thinking about you. Like you're on their mind. They just know that they can't. The way that they are right now, what they're doing, like they need the space. A lyric over here that's like really standing out to me is like, we are alive beyond repair. And I, first of all, love Gatherers, but second of all, I love that lyric so much because to me it's very indicative of like humanness and being alive beyond repair. I feel like so many people feel like who they are at their core, like the ugly parts of themselves or the most unpalatable parts of themselves would cause them to be unlovable. And I think that this person definitely thinks that about themselves. Like they might project this really like confident, masculine, go-getter energy, but on the inside it feels like they're very, very insecure. And instead of like really healing that or trying to deal with it in any way, they've just been repressing because they feel like if they let those parts of themselves out, like it will only solidify the fact that they're no good. Maybe they have anger issues, or like maybe they have like breakdowns or something like that, but there's just something about like their emotions feeling so ugly to them. And how you can behave when you're alone, but then you like think about someone watching you and you just like get disgusted. Like there's something like, there's just shame, there's this feeling of ugliness and like of being disgusted with yourself. It's really, really heavy. But again, like they're trying their best to work through it, and sometimes there are things like that that you have to tackle and confront on your own, and sometimes people just need that space to breathe and space to grow. But it does seem like they're thinking about you, or at the very least like they're reminiscing on times that you guys may have had together. Like maybe guys, there's something coming through with like banter or like this playfulness and this childhood, like you could really like bring out their inner child. And I don't know, they just like joking with you. Like they do have feelings for you. They're not being distant on purpose. Like this is just something that has to happen so that they can come back to you better. And this be discerning and trust your intuition. Like I feel like this person has a guard up around most people. And I feel like they know that they can trust you. Like they know that if they were to really be honest and show themselves to you, that you would not have like a negative reaction, but at the same time there's still that fear there, but they trust you. Or maybe they're like beginning to trust you, if that makes sense. Like this unexpected communication as well, and then like a fiery climax approaches, like they might be, you know, reasoning with themselves like, okay, well, I want to be honest. Like I want to be honest about how I feel. I want to be honest about who I am with this person. Yeah, so those are the oracle cards, and I do have just a few more things over here. So I have some little slips of paper for bits of confirmation, or anything to add. And then we do have, oopsies, I just dropped one beneath the couch. We do have some channeled messages, and then I will be getting into the tarot portion of the video. So we have stealth. Oh my goodness. We have the crest of a mountain. That kind of gives me the imagery of like the sun rising behind a mountain and like slowly shining its light on it, it being like a new day. I just got something and then I lost it. We have connect and we have perseverance. So I do think you guys will connect soon. I think that this is something that this person's, like I said, been hiding and blocked off from for a while with stealth. They might think that they're like really stealthy about things and like they're mysterious and whatever the fucking thing is that people say nowadays, where like they're mysterious and nonchalant and stuff like that. I think that you probably have been able to see through it, and I think that most people who get close enough to them do see through it, because past a certain point it's like you're hitting a brick wall. But yeah, and then there's something here that like they are finally coming to terms with the fact that their healing is going to be slow and it's going to be a process, and it's not something that they it's not like a one and done thing, or like you can go through a crash course. It's like every day you wake up and you try again, and you do a little more healing, and sometimes you get hurt again, and you know, you take a few steps back, but it's like an evergreen process of trying to be better for yourself and for the people around you. This person might be coming more into that frame of mind of like being less rigid with their thinking. It's like black and white thinking of like, this has to be like this because of this, you know, or I have to do this because of this. I can't let this person in because they're just gonna da-da-da. And it's more of like, well, I want to see where this goes, and if it doesn't go exactly where I want, then that's okay, because that's life. It's allowing for more of that ambiguity and the understanding that like just because something hurts or something ends doesn't mean that it is the end all be all. Yeah, so we can get their channeled messages. We have I'm not over my ex. We have I'm unsure about this. And of course, if you're in a relationship with this person, take this as it resonates. I see you in every version of my future. I wish you'd reach out. I think we're soulmates. And then I have two more. And I have something else to say. I'm embarrassed about how I acted, and I feel like you don't listen to me. Yeah, this person, this I'm not over my ex, like that could be they're not over, maybe they're not over them emotionally, like they're still attached, but it feels less like that and more like they're not over how the relationship was or how things ended. Like it, maybe there could have been like some dysfunction there. Like maybe this is an issue that they had with their ex, and so they like kind of projected onto everyone new and just assumed that like it's going to be the same. And with the I feel like you don't listen to me, like that could definitely be a wound there of like they did open up to someone at one point in time and they did show that vulnerable side of themselves and they took that leap of faith and it just did not result in the best outcome, and they kind of felt worse for wear after that. But yeah, I think that like I'm unsure about this. I think that they are unsure. Like this feels like very, very heavy energy, but there's also like a certain fondness here for you and a certain understanding that like you don't mean them any harm. You don't mean them any harm, and I think that they see who you are and they see how earnest you are, and it's hard for them to not want that, because like this unconditional love that they're trying to give to themselves, like they also want it from someone else, and even though it's like a softer side of themselves that they try to cut off, they can't stop themselves from, you know, sort of yearning for it. And then I wish you'd reach out. Like that could definitely be because they're dealing with so much right now. Or because it like might take a burden off of them. And with I'm embarrassed about how I acted, like if there was something that, maybe like a fight or something like that, maybe instead of, you know, doing the thing that lets you, like, has you be more vulnerable, like admit that you were wrong, admit that you're embarrassed about how you acted, they want you to reach out first to try and take some of that burden off of their shoulders. But yeah, that's what I got from the oracles. So we're gonna get into the tarot. Okay, so put all those cards away. We're going to get into the tarot portion of the video now and see what other messages their higher self has for you. Just to recap, because I feel like I ramble, currently it just feels like they're going through something, and if you guys are not talking or there's distance there, in some capacity, whatever it be, their higher self wants you to know that they're working on healing a part of themselves so that they can come back and be more open. And I'm not going to say that like they're doing that just for you. I think they know that like this is something that they need to do for themselves and for every facet of every facet of their life. Oh my gosh, I'm getting tired. To enrich their life, you know, to make it better so that they can live to the fullest extent instead of being so closed off all the time. I think that they're tired of that. So their higher self wants you to know that like any distance, you know, any quietness is not a result of like any negative feelings or any malintent. They're just trying to focus on doing the best for themselves that they can. And they are kind of emotionally at max capacity right now, but that doesn't mean that they're not thinking about you at all. And it doesn't mean that they don't think about you fondly. So, Spirit, what other messages does their higher self have for this collective? My goodness, the Hermit, which I did see when I was shuffling. We have the World, the Queen of Swords in the reverse, which is interesting. Actually, it's not. And then, oopsies, this deck is hard because it's literally like, look at the size of my hand. What else do we have? We have the Page of Wands. Okay, so we're going to talk about this and then get some clarifiers. The Queen of Swords in reverse, which is, oh, my ear's ringing. That's really cool. Thank God I listen to music really loud. That definitely helps. Anyways, the Queen of Swords in reverse, when I was like, that's interesting, it's not, is because like in the deck with the queens, right? The Queen of Swords is like the most masculine queen. And she's still a queen, so, you know, she still embodies that divine feminine energy, but she's the most like assertive, most dominant, most, you know, sort of embodying those masculine archetypes. She just does it in that more feminine way. She's like, you know how tarot works. I feel like I don't have to explain it, or maybe I do. I don't really know how knowledgeable anyone is, but it doesn't matter. I feel like I woke up for 2 seconds and now I'm just getting rambly. But the Queen of Swords can also be someone who is like really cold and closed off, and maybe even calculating at times, like maybe even a little bit of a, you know, a snake, or uses a lot of very harsh words, doesn't really care for people's emotions. Like, she's analytical. It's, you know, it's verbalizing things and it's your thoughts, but it's kind of can come through as being detached from the emotional side of things. And it's coming through in the reverse, which is like feeling like a release of that detachment. And it being a Queen of Swords especially, feels like it's that feminine energy coming through, like feeling like releasing that emotional and feminine detachment, if that makes any amount of sense. And like allowing something about allowing the thoughts to flow freely instead of trying to control them, trying to control the emotions, and like understanding that, like I said before, the black and white thinking, like that's not really a productive way. This person could be doing like cognitive behavioral therapy, or they could even be doing something like EMDR, like trauma informed therapy, and there's a lot of like release that comes through with that, I think. I mean, I'm assuming, I haven't started it yet, but from what I've heard, when you start stuff like that, like especially trauma-informed therapy, especially things where like it's resurfacing a lot of these heavier things, there's a lot of release, and that's like super duper tough to work through. But this Queen of Swords in reverse does feel like a release of detachment, and a release of shunning the feminine, and sort of being more okay with getting in touch with that side of themselves. The Hermit here is very self-explanatory. Of course, I'm going to point out that this is Virgo, so maybe Virgo as a sign could be significant. Virgo season, which we passed, so I think August and I want to say early September, I don't know. That could be a significant time period, but like it just feels like this person is in this hermit energy, and they're sort of like going inwards to try and heal themselves. Very self-explanatory for that one. But the Hermit does like say that this is something that is necessary. Like, this soul searching is necessary so that we can move on to the next phase of life, the next step of things. And I think that this person's gotten stuck on this. Like I said, when they had the awareness that when they were if they were to tug on that thread, that it would unravel a whole bunch of stuff. So instead of, you know, stepping into the Hermit energy, they just stayed. I forget what the card before it is. They just stayed in whatever energy that is. I can't remember. It's embarrassing. I should know, but I don't. Don't know all of the major arcana off the top of my head, to be honest, even though there's only 21 of them. But yeah, it feels like instead of moving into this energy, like they just kind of stayed over here, but now like they're being a little bit more courageous in the fact that they're confronting it head on, and that this will finally bring what they've been struggling with, what they've been detached from, what they've been repressing to an I don't want to say an end, but it's like finally going to close that cycle out, because like we have the Hermit here and then the World. So it's like this soul searching is going to pay off, because this is coming to a close. And there's like a sense of completion here. Like there's a sense of integration. Like this very well could be them getting into some sort of like trauma-informed therapy, or working through like trauma. And like, you might not know, I don't want to put labels on anything, but Definitely like there's a feeling of something being integrated here. Let's get some clarifiers. Clarify, whoop. Okay, we're gonna put those back because I didn't even finish the sentence. Can we clarify the Hermit spirit? Why is the Hermit coming out? The Two of Swords. Clarify the world. The Ten of Pentacles. I don't think anything else flipped out, but that's so... I love that. The Ten of Pentacles in the world. Yeah, it's very much a sense of completion. And very much like, this is something that they're going to see like tangibly in their life. Like they're going to feel and see like a real improvement on the basis of this work that they've done. This Two of Swords, it's like, definitely like this is something that they have ruminated on. Whatever they're healing from, they might have ruminated, or they probably have ruminated on it for a long time. But just even beginning the process of like being in that Hermit energy, like I said, it feels like it's something that has been a roadblock in the way because they knew that they had to do it to move forward. So they just like kind of stayed where they were at, and it was something that they sat on for a really long time. But now they're finally like, you know, dealing with it. Let's see. Clarify the Queen of Swords in the reverse spirit. Oops. My goodness. This deck always gives me hell. Why is the Queen of Swords? There we go. The Ace of Pentacles. And then clarify the Apprentice, the Page of Wands. Oh, that was so many. I'm going to take Strength, but I will say that the Seven of Wands and the Seven of Pentacles popped out behind it. Bottom of the deck is the Ace of Swords. Behind that is the Three of Cups. Yeah, so definitely there's like new ways of thinking. Like there's clarity about something. Like there's clarity about, maybe it's a part of themselves that they feel like they're more clear on, or something they've been through that they feel like they're more clear on. I think I mentioned earlier, there's like a feeling of like, why did this happen to me? Like, why did things have to go that way? And they might have come to an understanding that like sometimes things just happen and there's not really a reason why. And that's a really hard thing to accept, that sometimes bad things just happen. And they can happen to people that are completely undeserving. And that might be something that this person like really has a certain distaste for, or it's been really, really hard to cope with that fact. Like maybe they have put themselves down because they're like, well, this happened to me, so that means I have to have deserved it in some capacity. I think they're coming to an understanding that certain ways that they were thinking about themselves and speaking to themselves and about themselves was not really productive, even if they again projected that confidence outwardly. There's a lot of like inner negative self-talk and like beating themselves up and just being like ruthless to themselves. And I think they're finally able to admit, I don't deserve that. Like I don't deserve to put myself through that abuse. There is something about like feeling inherently like, I don't want to say worthless, but there's something like in that vein of feeling like you don't deserve good things, or feeling like they don't deserve to be loved. They don't deserve anyone to be gentle with them. And I think they're understanding now that that's not really the best way to speak to yourself, and that we're all deserving of love, even if we make mistakes, you know, and even if we don't make mistakes, like just as you are. Everyone's going through things, and that's okay, etc. But yeah, so with this Ten of Pentacles, like I said, like definitely a tangible sense of completion. Like they might be like decorating their house. That's kind of like coming through, doing something therapeutic like that, like creating. I know fire is usually like the creative energy, but like creating art and like using it to decorate their house. Like if they're doing paintings, making paintings, I know that's something that helps me personally process things. Like that could be something. They might be doing crafts and stuff and like hanging them up on the walls. But it's interesting that we have like the pentacles here, because it really does, it shows me that this is like something that is like slow and steady progress. Like they're finally at a point where they're not gonna run away or just give up on it because it's hard. Like they're really doing what they have to do and putting in the work in to create the very real and very stable after effects, if that makes sense. Like they're focused on like inner stability, self-stability, and being able to cultivate that emotionally. I feel like instead of repressing, because that feels safe, they're cultivating a stable emotional plane for themselves to exist in and on. And the Page of Wands, I do want to get another clarifier for that one with strength. Like I feel like this is admitting that the growth needs to, you know, happen, that we all have areas in which we can grow. Like there's a wound around, like I said, femininity and weakness. Like they could have been shamed for that. But like it feels like the admission that they're working on themselves might make themselves feel weak, or make feel like they're admitting that they're weak, when it actually it's the opposite. Like that vulnerability and, you know, being open with people about uncomfortable things is like so much stronger. Like it takes so much more strength to do that than just like shutting people out. And I think they're coming to terms with that. And it's like the pages are these underdeveloped energies. Let's see if we can get one more clarifier for the Page of Wands Spirit. And I think that they're finally okay with admitting that, yeah, it feels like there's something about, like there's something about maybe not trusting people with being open about that. Like maybe they're afraid of people judging them. If they admit that they were trying to work on a part of themselves, then they feel like that they're admitting that there's something, you know, wrong with them, or that they have those, going back to what I said earlier with the Oracle cards, those unpalatable emotions, that there's an ugly side of them that needs to be fixed. And again, like it's that negative perception that's not accurate that they're finally working through, and they're seeing that what actually takes strength is confronting these things and then being open with people and doing it so that you can have more genuine and authentic connections with people. So yeah, and there's self-doubt. I think that came through earlier with that. I'm not sure about this. Like there's a lot of self-doubt. And maybe they like work in an environment that's really catty, or maybe their social circle is, so they're afraid of people like talking about them behind their back or something like that. But overall, the Seven of Swords, like I feel like it's just doubting, am I really up for this? Like, this seems like a lot of work, can I do it? But they do have that inner strength. Like, of course, we all do. So yes, I feel like I've talked enough. This is a pretty long video. So thank you for watching if you did stick around. And yeah, that's your person's message, their higher self's message. It's just, they're going through something right now. So give them space, give them grace. And if they are distant, don't take it personally. They're working on bettering themselves. And yeah, so thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next reading.